Have you ever noticed how it often seems like love is knocking on your door, but all that comes with it is pain and confusion? The truth is that toxic relationships are not just a matter of bad luck. They are almost always the reflection of an essential lack, emotional maturity. It may sound controversial, but running away from self-knowledge is the shortest route to falling into bonds that drain your self-esteem and undermine your emotional balance. And do you know what's most shocking? We often think we're loving when, in fact, we're trapped in patterns of emotional dependency that rob us of our freedom. The good news? With emotional intelligence and awareness, you can turn this game around. And right now, by starting to understand how this happens, you'll discover how to prevent your heart from getting lost in invisible traps. Have you ever stopped to think that emotional maturity starts from within? Self-knowledge is the fundamental pillar for anyone who wants to build healthy relationships. When a woman learns to recognize her triggers, insecurities, and emotional needs, she gains the key to avoiding painful cycles with partners who only reinforce her traumas. It's as if she has an internal map that guides her away from emotional traps, guaranteeing a truer and more lasting emotional balance. Observing your own behavior patterns in relationships is a powerful exercise in emotional intelligence. We often repeat the same stories, drawn into emotional bonds that only feed emotional dependency and damage self-esteem. Imagine if she could identify, even before giving in, that pattern that always puts her in toxic situations. Wouldn't that be liberating? Applying emotional awareness here means learning to observe without judgment, simply to protect yourself and grow. For example, if she notices that she often gets involved with people who are controlling or who don't respect her boundaries, it's time to take action. Self-knowledge allows her to say no before the manipulation begins, to demand respect and to seek out relationships where self-love and self-control are respected. This opens up space for building assertive communication, where emotions are seen and heard, setting the stage for establishing healthy boundaries. When a woman develops emotional maturity, she understands that setting clear boundaries is an act of self-love and protection. These boundaries act as an invisible shield that defends her from manipulation, emotional blackmail, and invasions of her privacy. It's not about being rigid or closed off, but about recognizing your value and demanding that it be respected, without giving up who you are to please someone else. Imagine how much life changes when they start to say no with confidence, without guilt, and know how to identify when the other person is trying to cross their emotional boundaries. People with firm boundaries don't cancel themselves out or accept less than they deserve, because they have understood that emotional health depends on mutual respect. They also learn that it is essential to protect themselves against patterns of behavior that seek control or emotional dependence. Setting limits is not synonymous with withdrawal, but with emotional balance. For example, they can set schedules for themselves, decide when and how to share their emotions, or make it clear what they won't tolerate in their relationships. This strengthens genuine emotional bonds, because those who truly love respect, and those who respect know that love begins within themselves, where emotional intelligence flourishes. It's essential for an emotionally mature woman to understand the difference between truly loving someone and being emotionally dependent on them. When the choice of partner is based on self-knowledge and self-control, she avoids falling into the traps of neediness or fear of loneliness, which are often the roots of toxic relationships. This emotional awareness creates a space for self-love to guide decisions, rather than the desperate search for someone to complete her life. By taking emotional responsibility, she understands that happiness cannot be outsourced. This means not waiting for someone else to save or fill internal voids, but building a solid foundation within herself. For example, before diving into a new relationship, it's important to reflect on your own motivations. Am I looking for companionship or trying to escape insecurities? With this attitude, you avoid emotional dependency and promote healthy, balanced relationships. In addition, affective responsibility allows them to put themselves in the other person's shoes, practicing empathy and assertive communication. This attitude reduces unnecessary conflicts and strengthens emotional bonds based on trust and respect. In this way, the relationship stops being a temporary refuge and becomes a genuine partnership where each party grows individually and together. They build something real. Emotional maturity is revealed, among other things, in the ability to communicate clearly and empathetically. A woman who masters this art knows how to express her feelings without resorting to emotional games or aggression, avoiding those confusions that often create toxic bonds. For example, instead of harboring grievances or taking out her insecurities on veiled critics, she talks openly, showing her vulnerability with courage and respect. When communication is assertive, misunderstandings disappear, and true connection flourishes. It's like building a firm bridge between two people, where each listens and is listened to, valuing the emotional awareness that each brings. This not only strengthens emotional bonds, but also helps to create healthy boundaries that protect the emotional balance of both parties. Imagine the impact this has on the routine. Instead of dribbles and painful silences, conversations flow with sincerity, creating an environment where trust grows and self-love manifests itself. It's no wonder that clear and empathetic communication is the foundation of healthy relationships, because it's through communication that emotional maturity manifests itself in all its power. Emotional maturity is also recognizing the moment to put an end to a relationship that goes beyond the limits of respect and care. This often difficult decision reveals the self-love and emotional awareness that prevents emotional dependence from turning into prolonged suffering. Knowing how to say enough is an act of courage and self-control, which shows that being alone is not synonymous with emptiness, but rather with the freedom to rebuild healthier bonds. When a woman understands that self-respect cannot be negotiated, she avoids getting lost in relationships that drain her self-esteem and energy. For example, she notices clear signs of emotional abuse or manipulation and has the strength to walk away, even if this generates fear or temporary loneliness. This firm stance creates space for more balanced relationships, where the bond is built on reciprocity and not dependence. It's important to remember that emotional maturity brings with it the wisdom that chosen solitude is worth much more than hurtful company. And so you begin to walk a path where self-care and healthy boundaries prevail, making room for building relationships that respect and value your essence. When you start to apply emotional maturity to your life, everything changes. Toxic relationships lose strength, and healthy relationships gain ground. Have you ever thought about how self-knowledge and self-control can be your greatest weapons for cultivating true bonds and protecting your self-esteem? What's more, are you ready to set healthy boundaries and consciously choose who deserves your love and energy? Now, reflect with me. How many times have you stopped valuing yourself in order to please someone else? Or kept quiet to avoid conflict, even when something bothered you deeply? The real power lies in recognizing these patterns and freeing yourself from them, choosing assertive communication and self-love as allies for emotional balance. Are you ready for this challenge? Do you want to learn how to transform your relationships and your emotional life? If you want to continue this journey, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything about emotional maturity, self-knowledge, and how to avoid toxic relationships. Let's build this inner strength together and spread this awareness to those who need it most.